I want that book in every single format. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be wrapping up my December reads. So I read 11 books if I remember correctly, because I counted the other day. It's currently the 5th of January, but yeah, I read 11 books. Some of them were books where I'd had them on my current reading for a little bit of time. Some of them was me trying to do, like, read some of my 2024 reads. Some were Christmassy books. So I read a little bit of a mixture. So I'm just going to go in chronological order of when I finished them. I don't have all of the books on me. I have just under half. There might have been one that I read on Kindle anyway. I've just realised that I had one of the books in front of me, but I forgot because I'd read it on Kindle. No, I hadn't. I'd listened to it as an audiobook because that was the quickest way that I was going to finish it whilst being really busy with work, because I worked a lot for like the first 3/4 of the month. So I'm quite surprised that I read this much, because there were months where I worked a lot less and read less, which is crazy. The first book that I finished was The North Wind by Alexandria Warwick. This was me trying to finish my starting series that I want to be in the middle of. I rated this, put it as a 3 stars on Goodreads, could have been like a 3.25. I do have the sequel, if I can tell which one is the sequel without actually looking at them. So I do own the sequel, The West Wind. I did buy this after I'm going to hold this up as like a placeholder, but I rated it 3.25, potentially 3.5, but because like I enjoyed it, but also nothing like special, but I still enjoyed like the concept, like, and like the way the story went, and it was, for me, it was different to what I've read before. So for some people you might read it and be like, not new, completely like copying something else. And there was the start of it, they did read like ACOTAR, like the first book. But yeah, so with North Wind, like I sort of enjoyed the romance. I enjoyed like I said, I enjoyed the way things kind of went and like the plot points, and I did enjoy that. And it kind of gave, I don't know how to describe it without saying more. The series itself is an interconnected standalone. So this follows him, the North Wind's brother. This follows the West Wind, or Zephyrus. I don't know how to pronounce the name, who we do get glimpses of in the first book, and he does kind of give a Rhysand kind of thing. I've only read the first ACOTAR book, but he sort of gives, from what I've heard people say about Rhysand, he kind of gives that. I think this is going to be a 4-book series because it's going to be north, west, east and south, but I wanted to give like the second book a go. So the first book was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which is what ACOTAR is, and then this is inspired by the Greek myth of Hero and Leander and the Scottish ballad Tamlin. Really. Okay, so I obviously am not into the ACOTAR series, but I do know that Tamlin is a character. Yeah, so Tamlin, obviously, is this gonna be, I don't know. I do want to continue the ACOTAR series, so it'll be curious to see kind of how things play out, if that makes sense. Obviously 3 stars and 3.25 is still not a bad rating. Sometimes I like to give like a series like 2 chances. Anyway, the next book is Escape for Christmas by Philippa Ashley. I think I rated this like a 4.5, 4.75. I think I'm gonna stick with 4.5. I have rated it as a 5 on Goodreads though, just because it's not like, it's better than a 4 star. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed like the romance aspects, the kind of overall plot points, and like the little events, but also I slightly didn't care. I wanted a little bit more romance. Like, it felt a little bit more lit fic than romance. And I know that a lot of Christmas books are kind of, some are like closer to lit fic, but I just wanted more Christmassy. I had this issue last year with some of the books that I picked where I was wanting a little bit more Christmassy. Like last year, where I was wanting like Christmassy or romance. Last year I read Love Like Farms, and I wanted it to be a little bit more Christmassy. In some aspects, I probably wanted there to be a bit more romance as well. Like, I do enjoy a slow burn. Like, I do enjoy a slow burn, but I like there to be more plot points related to the romance. And Escape for Christmas just kind of didn't quite deliver on that. Then I read, do I have it with me? No, I do not. But then I read The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I rated this a 4 stars. I think I rated it just a 4 stars. I enjoyed this. I found it interesting. I liked the riddles and everything, but also it didn't get me. Like, I was loving all the aspects, but I also was finding that I wasn't kind of wanting to keep picking it up. Like, when I was reading it, I read loads, but I wasn't wanting to pick it up. And I kind of want books where I look at it, I'm thinking about it. I am definitely going to pick up the next in the series and read it, but I kind of want to get through more of my TBR first. I've got too many books, so it'd be better for me to kind of put a pause on that series, because ultimately, even though books 2 and onwards won't be able to be read as a standalone, for now it's not really a complete book, but it's kind of like a good setting spot. It might be that I pick that book up in like 3 months' time, but for now I just want to focus on what I have and trying to get through some of that. I've got too many books for my room, to the point where actually I've got books at my nana's, and that's a problem. So if I can kind of reduce, like, obviously some of the books over the next 3 months that I read aren't going to be ones that I kind of donate, but I'm hoping that I do get some of those that I can donate, and just because I don't have the space for that, at least not in this kind of current capacity. Enjoyed it. Want to continue on with the series. I'm not eager to do so. Then I did a reread of The Christmas Book Club by Sarah Morgan. I did this via audiobook. I was going to say I've recently purchased the Kindle version. I haven't. If it comes on as a 99p thing, I will be purchasing it because I want that book in every single format. So I listened to this via BookBeat. That's how I listened to a book that is coming up, where I spotted the physical book. This was still 5 stars for me. I loved the audiobook and like the narrations, and it was like different tones for different people, and I just loved it. Like, this for me is such like a cozy book. There's just the right amount of friendship, just the right amount of romance, because there's like romance like points from all the different characters as well as the one that's like budding. There's the right amount of child bits, like, because one of the characters has a young child. One of the characters talks about her family, and like that's like her thing because she's a stay-at-home mum, and I just love the cozy feel of like this inn, and I just loved it. And again, I want to reread it next year. I love it so much. Then the next book I read is The Christmas Stocking Murders by Denzel Mayrick. I rated this a 3 stars. I think for me, I enjoyed the overall plot point. It was interesting, but what kind of prevented me from enjoying it was the way that it was written, and it was quite kind of, I wouldn't say like Old English, not like Old English in terms of Old English, but there was definitely some like bigger words used where honestly, you could just use more simpler words and it would still make sense. Like, it was probably like a character thing, like this, the author's done that for the character, and like this is how the character speaks, and it is set in like the 50s, so it is kind of that kind of time aspect, but I still wish that it was, yeah, like it was just worded differently, like have a lot of that still in, but just take it away. Like the overall thing was interesting, and but also the ending and like the culprit sort of came out of nowhere. You wouldn't really guess it at all, and anyone who's read that book will kind of understand what I mean. Like, it was still enjoyable, and I think I am still going to keep the book, also because it's such a pretty cover. I wanted it to be something else, and also I don't know, I think it's not actual Christmas stockings, it's like stockings, like women's like hosiery, so it's kind of not Christmassy. It's set during the winter and like Christmas time, but it's not Christmassy at all, so it just kind of, that it takes that away from it as well, because I was expecting something a little bit different. Like, I was still expecting lots of like Christmas stockings to be found like as part of the plot, but I was expecting actual Christmas stockings. I think I will read the first in the series, because technically that was a book too. They can be read as a standalone. The first is like Murder at Holly House or something like that. I think if it's set in like a house, it's going to be a little bit more Christmassy, and I think that kind of plot would be something I'd enjoy more, but I will need to purchase it in hardback, because that's how I purchased the Christmas stocking, that is in hardback. And then I listened to the audiobook of The Book of Beginnings. I rated this 3 stars. This is a literary fiction. It was good, I enjoyed it, but also didn't really care. Like, so there's like a plot point where they kind of explore, like, it's to do with like a cemetery, and there's like, and one of the characters and like one of their hobbies, I'm not going to go into more because that would kind of spoil what I think is actually a major plot point. I really enjoyed that. That was such a really interesting, like, kind of, again, plot point. It's not something you would think about, but actually, and like, it's creative, like not only within itself but also as the plot point, because it kind of is the driving force for some, like, each character's arc, because it follows 3 people. It's from one point, is it from one point of view? No, I think it's from the same plot point of view. So it's from Joe's point of view. It's like following older people, like one's like 40, another is I don't know, probably around the same age, maybe a little bit older, like 50, and then one is like in his 70s. And it's just how you can make friends with people in like different circumstances, under kind of unexpected circumstances. And yeah, I enjoyed it, but also I think, I don't know whether because I'm like younger, I didn't connect to it as much, but like, again, it was still enjoyable. And then I read a novella. I wasn't actually planning on buying this in Tesco, and then I was like, actually, I'm gonna give this author a go, and also because it was like Christmas, and I was looking for like a shorter book. That is The Christmas Appeal by Janice Hallett. I do want to buy The Appeal, which is book 1. This is like 1.5, but they're like, it's in like the same village but different like characters, sort of. Like, there's like a small mention to it, but I think that they can be read totally separately. I rated this a 4 stars. Like, this is like 180 pages, I think. Just over 180. Yeah, so it's 187 pages. I read this really quickly. It's mixed media, which, and like fully mixed media as well. So I've never read a book like properly in this format, where some of it's like text, and like I've read it where like there's some books where it's like there's like just a tiny like little text message exchange, but the main part is like text. So like in the Chestnut Spring series, but then you've got like emails and like bullet points, and it's just really interesting, and like it still, and like you've got loads of email exchanges and text messages, and it's just really interesting, and it still carries the plot, like the plot along well. It keeps you guessing, like, who's the culprit, what happened, is there a murder, what's this like body, and there's just the small village like drama, and like that's just really fun, hence why I want to pick up book 1. I do own The Examiner by Janice Hallett, by this author, and I do want to get to that, and like having read this makes me more excited to get to that, because The Examiner is also a long book, not long, but it is still, I think it's good like 400 pages or something like that, could be 500, which is quite intimidating if you've never read the author. So this was a good kind of introduction without kind of going in deep, and again, reading this makes me more excited to read that. And I would definitely recommend her, and like her writing and like her books. Obviously I know I've only read a novella, so I might have more to say once I've read The Examiner, but this just kind of felt like the perfect length for what it is, that you get like the gossip, the drama, but you still get to the point and like the end, and you still find out like secrets, and secrets get revealed, and it's just beautiful. Then I read The Christmas Cottage by Sarah Morgan. This was a book that I wasn't planning to read, but I picked up on a whim. I also read this completely via ebook, because it was 99p. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed like how the secrets kind of played out. I enjoyed the romance, but it just didn't have as much charm as what the Christmas Book Club did. Now, in saying that, it's got 3 points of views. I did enjoy each point of view, and like the little bits of secrets, and the arc that Imogen goes through, and I did enjoy the romance, but also the romance was only just kind of starting to begin, and I kind of wanted a little bit more. I do want to read more of this author. I do have another Christmas book of hers. I kind of meant to get to it this year, not this year, last year, but I didn't. So I have got a Christmas book that I'm trying to finish up in January, because I'd started it middle of December. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this author. I think I'm always going to be chasing whatever the Christmas Book Club had in it, because that to me was just perfect. Then I read My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. I somehow read this really quickly. Like, this text is like, to me, is normal sized, but that's not a really great, like, this to me, normal sized, right? Tell me why I somehow managed to get through the ebook, and I think it was in like 4.5 hours. Like, it was quick. It's like 337 pages, and there are some small text message exchanges and like diary entries, so I did get the odd page of like this, which obviously did help speed the book up. Like, it's still not the shortest of books. I can't remember what I rated it, and my iPad has just died. Did I just say a 4? I feel like it was a 3.5, because like it was fun, it was nice to read, but also I found I didn't care. I don't think I'm gonna read the sequel unless I might read the blurb of that book. I don't own it, but I might look at it on like Amazon to kind of see what I think about it. And like if it ever goes on like 99p again, maybe I'll read it. But I don't necessarily see it as like a series that I would read. And this in itself just reads like a standalone. The next book that I finished was The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. I rated this a 3.75. I can't remember what I rated it, but if I rated it like 4 stars, it was probably in like a 3.75, which is still a good rating. I enjoyed it, but also I found I didn't really care too much. In some ways, I almost thought it could have been a little bit shorter. I somehow managed to finish this quite quickly. I completed it in 2 days in total, but like the last 150 pages, I just seemed to fly through. Like I would still recommend, and I am excited to read book 3 and complete this series. I know that the answer to the whole apples thing isn't answered in book 3, but I have a feeling that the whole reason why he has apples is because that's part of his like fate and like his curse. Like as a fate, he's kind of cursed to be only be able to eat apples as his life sustenance. And that's the only thing that can sustain him, and that he can eat other food if he absolutely needs to. And then he's in a setting where he's able to eat normal food. But I just think, is it the apples that can't sustain, like they're the only thing that can sustain him, but that he has to have like different coloured apples for like, I don't know. I know that the answer isn't answered in book 3, but that's kind of how the whole apple situation reads to me in book 2. Then the final book I read was Shatter Me. I rated this a 3.5. But yeah, so I enjoyed this. It's a dystopian, not romance, but, well, it sort of is a dystopian romance, but it kind of feels like something else. Basically, the main female character has this like disease where she's not able to touch someone because she can kill them. So she kind of has lived an isolated life, and then stuff happens, and the next book, the way this book ends off is kind of in the next book is where she'll kind of take her stand. Now I don't own the novellas, but I do own the other ones. Like, you know how at the works you can buy like this and the other like 4 or however many it is, and then you can buy like the 4 novellas. I don't own the 4 novellas. I don't know the reading order. Yeah, so I'll need to look into that, because obviously if the next book is like a novella, I'll need to purchase those. Not bad. I don't know whether I'll connect to this series, but also it's like not a bad first book, and actually I think I could see myself getting into the series more from book 2, where it becomes a little bit more plot heavy. Probably worth noting that these 2 were on my 24th for 2024. Was there another one? Also, this was on my 24th for 2024 as well. So yeah, I read 3 of my 24th for 2024. I am planning on doing a kind of, not a review, but like a react to. I did look at the list at the start of January, at the start of December, which is kind of what influenced me in picking up some of these, because I was more aware of what was still remaining to be read. So I did cheat a little, but what I kind of think I realised is that I read more of the books at the start of 2024 because obviously they were fresh in my mind, and I think that's the same as what I'm going to do on here. And they are kind of on my TBR cart now, because I had like a little switch around and took off my read books, because I had some read books on there, so it was just easier to go completely unread and do a little switch around. I didn't film anything, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what videos you want to see from me, how you did in December, any books that you would recommend, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.